Sidelines News Central Television team was attacked by the security force. My colleague Aisha Salihu accused operatives of the Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps of attacking her crew while covering the Free Nnamdi Now protest in Abuja. For this development, we now turn to a prominent rights activist and convener of Free, or rather Release Nnamdi Kanu Now protest, Omoyele Sowore. Also joining is News Central correspondent who was on the field all day covering the protest, Sagir Ibrahim. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining this evening. Sagir, let's start with you. How would you describe the conduct of protesters and that of the security operatives during the demonstrations?
Well, good evening, Maz. I would start by saying, first of all, I can still perceive the smell of tear gas canisters in my nose. That just gives you an impression of how long the day was. But then I start from the very beginning. The protest started in Maitama, just in front of the Transcorp Hilton in Abuja. They were there for quite a few moments, and of course, we all saw the videos of how that went. Tear gas canisters were pelted on the demonstrators as at that moment, and I think it was at that moment that Omoyele Sowore had announced the arrest of Aloy Ejimako, the counsel representing Nnamdi Kanu in the court, as well as his younger brother, Fine Boy Kanu. As at this moment, we still do not know what the situation is with regards to that, but our ears are on the ground and we are hoping that we would get information from them. Well, the protesters were dispersed from there, and then they moved to reconvene around Bega Under Bridge. From Bega Under Bridge, they moved into the Utako district, continuing, of course, with their demonstration as it is. They moved into the Chisco area, Chisco Park area. That's a luxurious bus park that carries Nigerians from the north up onto the southeast and even down southwest and even the south-south. So it's a major point that carries Igbo individuals and individuals from the south of southeast extraction. Of course, upon entering that area, quite a number of individuals came up, regrouping and of course reinforcing the numbers of the protesters. They went on in their numbers, going on of course as usual. They are just past the NUJ FCT secretariat here in the FCT at the junction, and were granting interviews to us, of course, when we were surrounded yet again by police officers who then went ahead to pelt us with yet again tear gas canisters. Of course, we ran to safety, but then we got that on television and on camera. The protesters went on undeterred. This time they reconvene at the Apo Mechanic axis of Apo resettlement here in Abuja. They were able to gather yet again larger than the crowd that they had initially gathered at the Utako axis. This time I would say I would not be mincing words if I say at this point the protesters were over 1,000. But then it continued on, and again they would regroup, and the police would come and pelter the protesters with tear gas. They will run, of course, and then regroup at another location. This was what the protest looked like. This was the shape and form that it took here in Abuja, of course, up until they got to the force headquarters to demand for the release of individuals that were arrested. And sadly, we didn't get any favorable response, of course, from the police, because we were not even answered by any senior police officer when we arrived at the force headquarters as at this afternoon by 3 p.m.
Well, Sagir, thank you for that play-by-play recall of events from earlier today. So with everything that you experienced, would you say it's safe to say that press freedom is yet to find a place in Nigeria?
Well, Maz, I didn't get the question, but then I heard press freedom. And as I heard press freedom, I know it's related to the events that happened earlier in the day. I would say to a large extent, upon sighting our vehicle, branded vehicle, the security forces, the security agencies didn't do so much, of course, save for the sad situation that we had seen earlier, where officers of the Nigerian Civil Defense Corps accosted some of our colleagues here in Abuja. But all of the time that I've been with the protesters, of course, I've also been in company of other colleagues who work with News Central, and we're all inside the bus. All of the time that they saw us pass while they were carrying out the activities of tear gas canister shootings and the likes of that, they had allowed us free passage. But then, sadly, for those of us who were within the crowd when all of this were happening, we cannot account for what happened, to all of them, including myself, who was inside carrying out interviews, especially at the point where we were interviewing some of these individuals at the NUGF City Secretariat area. We were just journalists numbering about 5 or 6 of us, speaking to individuals who were responding. The video showed clearly police came, they surrounded us initially, they had come to collect a placard from one of the individuals who were carrying it, and all of a sudden it was tear gas all the way. So while we can speak for the fact that they saw us with our branded bus and gave us free passage, we cannot speak to the fact that we were wearing branded jackets carrying News Central on it, but yet we're still tear gassed by the police officers. And of course, NSCDC officials attacking our colleagues somewhere within the city center earlier in the day. Back to you, Mas.
Sagir, thank you very much. Now, we're going to turn to activist Omoyele Sowore now, so we can ask him some questions about today's event. Mr. Sowore, thank you very much for joining us. First of all, let's take a look at the protest repression cycle in Nigeria. 2014, Bring Back Our Girls, 2020, NSAS, 2024, hunger protests, and then 2025 for Nnamdi Kanu. And I'm wondering, do you believe that peaceful protests can still work in Nigeria, or has the state forced activists like you to rethink resistance?
Well, I believe in peaceful protests. I believe in nonviolence. That has been my tool of resistance since I got into the university in 1989, and I've not changed that. But what you can tell is that Nigerian government don't really respect people who are not violent. If you are not violent, you get treated like trash by the police, the army, and other security agents. I'm shocked that civil defense, as we used to know them, have also joined, in this business of torture, harassment, intimidation, and beating of citizens. Everyone with a gun is just out of control. So, and if you know the way government pamper militants, the way they pamper criminals, the way they pamper bandits and terrorists, you almost want to rethink, if it is okay to always engage these guys with placards. But for someone like me who have taken a position of nonviolence nonviolent struggle, I believe it works. It is the most powerful moral force there is to fight against oppression.
So, Mr. Sowore, many believe that Nnamdi's detention has gone beyond a legal debate. They're now calling it, let me read it here, political hostage situation. So beyond these ethnic lines, what does Nnamdi Kanu's prolonged detention symbolize for every Nigerian who wants to challenge power?
It's suppression, it's discrimination, it's profiling. It has a component of ethnic profiling. I am not going to mince word if I tell you that Nnamdi Kanu would have been treated differently if he wasn't an Igbo man. That's the truth, because we know how people who come from other parts of the country are treated, even when they are still actively bearing arms. The only thing that was presented in court against Nnamdi Kanu is a microphone and his undershirt, nothing more. But the rest of our brothers have engaged in terrorism, they've engaged in banditry, kidnapping, some have engaged in all kinds of violent resistance. You cannot question some of them because some of them decided very early that they don't want to be like the Sowores of this world, get beaten and harassed and tear gassed by the police. they respond in equal measure, knowing that Nigeria state is a very violent state. So everybody understands that Nnamdi Kanu is treated this way because of where he's from. I have no doubt about that.
Mr. Sowore, the youth of Nigeria, they're protesting on many lines here. Top on their agenda is the fact that there is hunger today. So it's not ideological anymore. But the question is, why do you convert this raw anger into organized political power?
You know, it's something that we should be asking ourselves why the situation in the country has not become converted to some kind of kinetic energy in the right direction. But I think that is happening. Maybe it's not happening at the pace that I want. I wish this is happening really now. But what I noticed about today, for instance, that there were a lot of young people. Your reporter was talking about what happened in Apple Mechanic Village where we protested. I'm surprised that I don't see that footage flying on your page anyways. But it was massive. It was massive. And what you could tell is that this is beyond just asking for Nnamdi Kanu's release. People are tired of the system. They are tired of hunger, starvation, employment, you know, and the economic dislocation that has turned them into, you know, second-class citizens in their own country. And they see how a political class just lavish, you know, the taxpayer, there's taxes on their lifestyle. So I have a belief that something is going to happen. Something got to at some point.
So one has to ask what happens after the protests today. And do you think that the protest was effective?
Oh, it was effective. So, I mean, Abuja was shut down, and there's nothing else that was talked about today other than this protest. And they might pretend that they didn't see it, but you could tell. Even the judge that gave the order that we cannot protest could not come to court today to attend to the case that he asked us to cover. But I must make a comment, and my comment is directed at the police PPRO, CSP Benjamin Hunday. I saw him. I'm shaking my head. You know, these guys just don't understand that this country belongs to other people. You think wearing uniform and sitting pretty in office, you can just denigrate dishonestly, hypocritically your fellow citizens. And I felt so sad hearing him because I thought he was a decent guy. You know, we are just, you know, parted ways with Muyiwa Adejobi. But for this guy to be telling you that they have a right to attack people who are peacefully protesting and they use minimum, they fired not only tear gas at us, they fired live ammunition at us. And this was unprovoked. So if he claims that they were using minimum force because we're close to Aso Rock, what was the basis for the force that was used in the tackle? What was the basis for the massive force that was used in the tackle?
Mr. Sowore, Mr. Sowore,
this guys are despicable.
Mr. Sowore, we're having issues with your sound, but we have come to the end of that scheduled time for this talk with you. But thank you very much for giving us from your side of things. Thank you.